We'll jump into the core topics why we are here today, some insights into the fundamental principles of hemp drying theory versus cannabis drying. What are the differences in the drying processes and why do they exist? And how have they evolved over time to the most recent technologies that you guys offer?
In essence, the drying technology, the knowledgeable basis is the same, because we use the qualities of the air by manipulating the moisture content of the air to extract moisture from a product, and we provide airflow to ensure that there's enough air to carry away the moisture, and that all the variables we measure using sensors throughout our installations, and that input we use for our software to control the drying process automatically. What the difference is between the drying of hemp and the drying of cannabis is mainly the materials used. For example, cannabis drying has to be compliant with GMP certifications in case of medicinal uses, and hemp drying that is not mainly for medicinal, so we can use different materials. The cannabis drying is more small, relatively small batches, and hemp drying is more on a real big industrial scale. And also, in case of hemp drying, we dry more products of the cannabis plant. So from the cannabis or hemp plant, we dry all the different parts. The hemp stalks we wet and we dry, controlled. The hemp seeds we dry, and the hemp flowers as well, with a low THC content, of course.
So these are the differences, and how have they evolved over time as to how was hemp dried traditionally versus being dried now? What's the process? And this current technique, how is it beneficial as opposed to traditional techniques?
I think for hemp drying, it is mostly we try to innovate on the part of the industrial retting. There is a little bit I have to explain about that, because to separate the hemp stalk, it is a very strong plant, so the stalk is very strongly bound together. It's actually the strongest natural fiber. So to separate the two components, which are the woody core and the fiber bundles which form the outer rim of the stalk, right now there is a natural process which is called retting, and that is facilitated by leaving the hemp stalks on the field and letting the moisture in the air, in the microbes, so the fungi and the bacteria and the soil, work in on the hemp plant to facilitate like a consumption of the glue holding the hemp stalk together. But we really want to try to make industrial hemp very good source material for large-scale industrial purposes, and also with precise qualities. So with hemp drying, we innovate upon this. We take what is now facilitated in nature by letting the retting process occur naturally. We can create it in a controlled installation. So instead of letting the retting process be susceptible by nature or dependent on nature, we can control the environment to make that process as good as possible, to make the separation of the fibers and the end quality of the components as good as possible. For the seed drying, we use our traditional methods, where we have a very modular installation, forced airflow, and control of the temperature. And for the flowers, for CBD flowers, we mainly use trays. So the flowers are separated by trays, and then the airflow is provided. The air is conditioned so the moisture can be extracted, and this makes sure that the quality is well preserved, but also you can dry in more in bulk as opposed to hang drying, which is very voluminous.
Thank you so much for sharing. But so traditionally, as opposed to hang drying, these are just method of different kinds of rack and top-down drying, where you play with airflow to get rid of the moisture and make sure that it's not too much or not too less to disturb the cannabinoid profile in case of cannabis.
I think it's very important to begin with the seed to create a strong genetic database, because from the seeds everything begins. The seed genetics, they determine if it's a good plant for characteristics, or it's a good plant for seed production, or it's a good plant for CBD production, or it's a good plant for medicinal recreational production. And taking our knowledge in seed drying, we really want to apply it to industrial hemp and to cannabis and hemp seed genetics, to make sure there is good research and development into that the genetics are well preserved, and that there is a very strong database to make use of all the different possibilities of the cannabis and hemp plant. Then for the hemp stalk, like I mentioned earlier, the controlled retting process, we are really putting effort into the research and development to provide a controlled process for that with our installations. So you have more, you can guide the process better to get certain characteristics. So in the end, with our installation, we want to ensure that you have control of the process from the seed to the growth to then the drying. And with the drying process, with the retting process, that is the tipping point between a fresh plant and actually a very valuable and useful source material. So by making sure that process happens as energy efficient as possible, as good as possible, taking into consideration the needs of the plant, and also as efficient as possible, taking into account the harvesting schedule, the internal logistics, then you can add value to fresh products by making sure it is get processed as good as possible, and in the end be used in the almost infinite possibilities of end users, and get into the customer's hands. They get happiness from it. They can make good use of it in whatever way they want, and that is what we try to provide with our installations.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom.